What's my purpose in life? This is the million-dollar question that I am going to help you answer today in an unconventional, maybe kind of weird way. I am going to share with you the question that you need to ask yourself, and it has nothing to do with what makes you happy. This question has been inspired by gamification secrets used by developers to create games that are so fun and so enjoyable that they become addicting. And by answering this question, you will find meaning and you will find a purpose to pursue that will make your life just as enjoyable and therefore just as addicting as the best-selling video games. So welcome to I Am Striver, where I strive to make you strive. Hit the subscribe button down below to stay up to date with all our cool new content. Make sure you hit the bell to be notified when we come out with a brand new video every single week on Wednesday. So let's just dive straight into the video. So when you're trying to figure out what your purpose is, there's two elements at work here. There's your and there's purpose. So your refers to who you are and purpose refers to what you do. Now, who you are, that's a topic for another day, another video. We'll talk about that some other time. Today, I want to talk about what you do. So my advice, and not just my advice, but the advice of a lot of experts in this field, is that what you do should be narrowed down to just one thing. You need to pick your one thing, and this one thing is going to be the running theme that binds together all your other goals, all your other actions. You might be asking yourself, well, how do I figure out what my one thing is? So a lot of people, when they're trying to figure out what their one thing is or what their purpose is, they ask themselves the happiness question, right? So what makes me happy? Now, this is great if you have like one or two things that really make you happy and you just know this is where my soul is going. But for most people, this is not going to be a good question to ask. Why? Because most people could come up with a giant list of all sorts of different things that will make them happy. This question is just way too broad for them. It is so difficult to choose just one thing when you have a list of like 10 or 20 different things that make you happy. So instead, I'm going to suggest to you a different question that you should ask yourself. But before I get into that, let me first explain where this question came from. So when it comes to figuring out purpose, I personally believe that a key to answering this question lies within video games. Now, why video games? Well, I don't know if you guys have ever watched somebody play video games or if you happen to be a gamer yourself. But man, are those people determined. They are resilient. They are persistent. And they have so much purpose in their virtual lives. So I ask myself, is there a way that we could translate this virtual purpose into real life purpose? And guess what? I am not the only person to ask this question. So when I started researching on this topic, I came across Jane McGonigal, who's actually sitting right here on my bookshelf. And Jane McGonigal, in her book, she tries to answer this exact same question. She asks, how can we translate virtual purpose of video gamers into real life purpose for everybody else? So in her book, Jane identifies 4 different things that make video games so enjoyable that they become addictive. And I'm going to share them with you just very quickly. Number 1, hard work. Yes, that's right. I said hard work. Some of you might have heard before of being in a state of flow. Some people call it being in the zone. And what flow refers to is when you're in this state, when you're focused on the task and you're so laser focused that nothing else matters. You could be thirsty, you could be hungry, you could be exhausted. None of it matters. All that matters is you accomplishing the task and all the work just flows out of you to get that task accomplished. Now, flow is a concept that gains a lot of recognition and a lot of attention in positive psychology from this really awesome experiment that showed that people throughout their normal everyday lives, the moments when they're enjoying themselves the most are times when they are actually in this state of flow, not when they're just passively lounging around or leisurely activities. No, they enjoy themselves more when they're actually working really hard. Number 2, failure is not devastating because you know you could succeed. So most video games are designed for you to be able to win them. But even the video games where you can't really win, you could still get better and you could progress. So because of this, because you had this implicit belief, this knowledge that you could always succeed, failure is not devastating. In fact, a lot of the time, failure is more motivating than demotivating in video games. Number 3, games create very strong social bonds. So a lot of games are designed to be played with multiple players. So you could play together and you could have fun together. But even games that people play at home by themselves, very often people play these games online and they form social bonds with people halfway across the world. In fact, I know many gamers, and a lot of them tell me that some of their best friends are people they have never met before outside of their virtual world where they play together. Importantly, people that have spent a lot of their lives empathizing because they have these very strong social bonds, they're not only psychologically and physically healthier, but they live longer than people that have very low social bonds and therefore don't empathize as often. And number 4, you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. Because a lot of the time when people are participating in these games, especially when this is a social endeavor, they're creating a whole little mini world that they're making better in their participation. So what does this have to do with finding your purpose? Well, let's put purpose into gamer terms. In a video game, the purpose is the mission. This mission, most of the time, is to save the world, sometimes even the whole universe. And it is your duty as the hero to accomplish this mission. Now, interestingly, in video game plots, the mission is not the thing that the hero decides is going to make them happy. Rather, the mission is some injustice that already exists out in the world, and it becomes the hero's duty to set that injustice right at any cost. Now, to be a hero in the real world and to find your real world mission, all you have to do is find your injustice. And the way you find your injustice, and this is the big question, you need to ask yourself not what makes you happy, but what disgusts you and what angers you. Why disgust and anger? Well, because disgust is a response to when you perceive a contamination. And anger is a response when you perceive an obstacle to your goals. So by identifying some sort of problem in the world that angers and disgusts you, you find the injustice that is your mission in your story that you, the hero, can now make it your purpose to set right. Now, here are the wonderful bonuses of doing this. When you find a social problem that angers and disgusts you, you can work to fix it. Any work that you do towards fixing it is already success on some level. There is very little room for failure. Anything that you do is going to improve the state of affairs. It is going to create stronger social bonds, especially with the people that you help. It is going to make you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself by creating a better world. And 5, you get a bonus. You get an extra bonus within these bonuses. By removing something from the world that actively angers and disgusts you, you are now freeing a block from your happiness. So now your happiness can flow much easier and much more naturally. So what I'm suggesting to you today is if you don't know what your purpose is, if you've thought about this and the happiness question isn't getting you anywhere, then take a page out of the gamer's book. Find an injustice that you can set right. By doing so, you'll not only find so much meaning in your life, you'll not only be so much more happier and so much more fulfilled in your life, but you would create a better world for everybody that lives in it. Really, you can't get a better deal than that. So guys, if you enjoyed today's video, if you learned something new, if you're looking at the same problem in a different sort of way, please hit the like button down below so that I know to make more content like this in the future. And if you really like this kind of content, if you like these weird, kind of unusual ways to look at these world situations, please hit the subscribe button so you could stay up to date with all our new content that we come out with every single week. And as always, strivers, keep on striving. Ciao, guys.